There's nothing more impressive than knowing what God's doing in your world and just accomplishing it. Just do it. Sometimes it gets a little weary, and I'll admit I'm a little weary this morning, as some of you are. But isn't it exciting to know that God is still on the throne and He ain't weary? He's just as powerful as He's always been. He's just as strong and obvious. To those that are willing to fear Him, the Bible teaches in Psalm 128, if we would just learn to fear God. And I know that goes against the nature of many men today that are raised to be tough. They're raised to not show emotions. They're raised in such an environment that says, hey, I'm going to let that be for the sensitive guys. But there is nothing more powerful to me than seeing a man broken on his knees before God and saying, Lord, I need help. Willing to come to that place of himself and saying, Lord, I don't understand why I'm going through this difficulty. And I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm hoping that you will show me something today. Psalm 128 speaks up with this, saying, verse 1, Blessed is everyone that feareth the Lord, that walketh in His ways, for thou shalt eat the labor of thine hands, happy shalt thou be, and it shall be well with thee. Thy life shall be as a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house, and thy children like olive plants round about thy table. Behold, that thus shall the man be blessed that feareth the Lord. The Lord shall bless thee out of Zion, and thou shalt see the good of Jerusalem all the days of thy life. Yea, thou shalt see thy children's children, and peace upon Israel. Turn, if you will, to Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3. We're going to read the whole chapter here because it's worth reading. Remember the instructions to Solomon. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the tables of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eye. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel, and marrow to thy bones. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the firstfruits of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of His correction. For whom the Lord loveth, He correcteth, even as a father the son in whom He delighteth. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire not to be compared unto her. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth, by understanding hath He established the heavens. By His knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down to dew. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be lifted, so shall they be life unto thy soul, and grace to thy neck. Then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it cometh. For the Lord shall be thy confidence, shall keep thy foot from being taken. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. Say not unto thy neighbor, Go and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when thou hast it by thee. Devise not evil against thy neighbor, and seeing thee he dwelleth securely by thee. Strive not with a man without a cause, if he have done thee no harm. Envy thou not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. For the froward is an abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. Surely he scorneth the scorner, but he giveth grace unto the lowly. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Here's a new song put out by the Phillips family. I couldn't remember the title of it the other day, and it's about Daniel being thrown into the lion's den. It's also the reason he got in the lion's den was prayer. But that's also the way he's going to get out, through prayer. What got you in is going to get you out. Folks, if you've signed up for God at any moment in your life, trust me, he's not going to leave you alone. God is a spiritual pest for his children. He will not lead you astray. He will come at you in ways you never possibly imagined he would be there. He will gorge you in the side, say, remember me, when you're out doing something wrong. He will whisper in your ears, what do you think you are doing? You belong to me. Why in the world do you think it's okay for you to act this way? Why do you believe that I'm okay with you speaking this way? Why do you believe I'm okay with you dressing this way? Every part of your life, God becomes that spiritual pest. But it's cause of ownership. When you own something, you're just as a pestilence to them. You have every right to handle it as you see fit. And ladies, there are certain things some women wear that they just ought not. I'll just say it that way. It may look good on a rack, but when she puts it on, she ought to know right then and there, because a mirror has exposed the reality of it, you need to go turn it back in. And men, you are no better. Men, I've seen more men with vanity than I have women of late. They got to have just the right kind of foo-foo in the hair. Give me an absolute break. I'll spend 30 seconds a day on my hair. Gospel witnessing. Get out, comb it wet, go. Don't use hairspray, don't use nothing else. If it falls, so be it. But Sabrina says, I comb it all the time like my mom does. I don't see anything wrong with it. Just thought that had nothing to do with the message. Two things I want you to write down. Number one, reverential fear gets us to the best blessings. Reverential fear. If there's one thing missing in our churches today, it's not just the bodies that should be in the pews. It's a reverential fear of the God who made himself a presence in our life at some time. Do you remember when you were arrested by the knowledge of hell and heaven, and it got so much into your mind that you had to do something about it? And you found yourself not even able to sleep about it. You couldn't talk your way out of it. There was this reality that you'd come to that you could not ignore. It was the reality of life and death, that sooner or later all of us are going to die. You may think, well, I'm young. I got a lot of years left. There's no promise of tomorrow. James 4:14 says, life is but a vapor that appears for all people. Folks, I've done services for babies all the way up to 100 years old. And 300 or 400 different people in between. Trust me, age is not a factor. You can die at this very moment. I've been talking to people when they've been rushed away to the hospital. I went to the hospital to catch up with them. They've already died. Do not tell me you've got plenty of time. The best blessings you have are now in Christ, not later. Seize them now. Get yourself to a place in your ministry, in your life, and you begin to think, Lord, what am I doing this for? What's it all about? And then go back to Psalm 128. I want you to see this message with me. Psalm 128 says something so special, it absolutely should tickle the inside of your tickler. Amen? Look what it says in verse number 3. Thy wife shall be as a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house. Thy children like olive plants round about thy table. Now, to understand what he's trying to say here, you have to get back into the customs of that day. And especially the olives. Folks, some of you don't know how to be joyful anymore because you don't know how to recognize your olives. And every one of you got olives. Blessing. Stay with me. For centuries, the olive trees have been growing in lands bordering on the Mediterranean Sea. But its growth in Palestine had been quite abundant. Moses told Israel that Canaan was a land of oil olive in Deuteronomy chapter 8:8. But in Deuteronomy chapter 6, he also stated this, and it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee out of the land which he sware to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of good things which thou fillest not, and wells digged which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full, then beware, lest thou forget the Lord which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. From that day down to the present day, the growth of the olive tree and the use of its products have played a very important role in the history of that land. The young olive trees only bears olives after 7 years of growth. And it is not until the 14th year that they begin to truly reach their maturity. Because of the injurious method of harvesting the olives by using sticks to knock off the fruit, the tree only bears a full crop every other year. Some 20 gallons of oil are often derived from a single olive tree. The berries are harvested in the month of October, and after the olive tree reaches its maturity, its fruitfulness lasts for many years. Its longevity is one of the remarkable characteristics of the tree. It lives and bears fruit for centuries. The old olive tree is often seen to have several thrifty young shoots springing up all around it from its roots. It was this picture that the psalmist was using to paint Psalm 128. But that's not even the best part. The olive trees mentioned here are a picture of a fruitful family, a growing family that has been blessed by God, not because they are good in any way, but because they learn how to fear God. That reverential fear of God still is the mystery and the mainstay of any home. But now is the blessing. In the western part of Asia, that olive tree often grows wild. And so when the trees are cultivated, they must be grafted. The grafting process of cultivating olive trees is inserted into the stem of the wild olive tree. And then the wild olive tree is cut down close to the ground. And the part below becomes the root and feeder for the inserted good shoot. This is the customary process of grafting. But the Apostle Paul, for sake of arguments, speaks of grafting contrary to the natural process. He tells us that God grafts the wild olives of the Gentiles onto the good stock of the Jewish nation, which is a complete reversal of the order and custom of grafting an olive tree. So instead of us being cut down, or Jesus having to be cut down as the good stock anymore, He's the good stock that we have to be engrafted into. And Psalm 128 teaches us we become the offshoots of the main vine. Now folks, if you don't resemble the olive tree in any shape, form, or fashion, maybe you've been grafted into a chinaberry tree. Or maybe you're in one of those thorny bushes. You ever met Christians got attitude problems? Many of them have been grafted into the wrong vine. They got into the me mentality. But what Paul wanted us to know in the New Testament, David was painting in the Old Testament, that there is a blessing reserved only for those that have learned to fear God. You can't cheat. You can't get it any other way. You can't excuse the way. If you absolutely do not fear God, Deuteronomy teaches us there is a blessing and a curse. You have chosen that curse. But if you fear God, reverentially fear God, say, God, my life is nothing without you. I need you every moment of every day. You fall on His finished work at Calvary. God says, I got blessings for you. I'm going to take your little shoot of who you are, and I'm going to pull you close, and I'm going to insert you to my body. From me, you will grow. If you become anything in me, you will grow. But there's an important part here. It takes time to grow. You don't get saved overnight, and then all of a sudden you're a scholar. You don't get saved overnight, and all of a sudden you've got all the wisdom in the world. You're just a baby boy or baby girl in Christ. It takes time. And there for those first years or so, you may be sucking on the milk of the Word, the Bible teaches. And nothing wrong with that. But if Lisa's grandparents would grab from Sammy his bottle and have to have that today, we would all think something wrong with that picture. Amen. If I grab little Trip's bottle, start sucking on my grandson's bottle, I've got a mental issue. Number one, I'm not that hip on milk. I'll drink it. But as I get older, I'll learn that it don't like me too much. I want me a steak. And I want it medium well. I don't need no bleeding carcass flapped on my plate. I want something that's done. Amen. You better make sure you did more than just knock the horns off. I want something that's well cooked. Amen. I don't want some of you people in that rare business. I'm praying for your soul. But I don't want to fall short of God's blessings either. I want all that He can give me. And I know that there are things in my life that I have missed because my fear for God wasn't where it should have been. And David is telling us, if you can just look to your family and look around at what God's blessed you with, you may not be a mother or father right now. But you've got a church family, you've got a friend base, you've got those you go to school with, those who care for you. They are your olives in life. And how you treat your olives determines how much fear you have for your God. And a lot of folks are out there saying, oh, Brother Paul, I'm going to do it my way. You go ahead and do it your way. Wind up in hell with the singer of that song. He did it his way. And Frankie's in hell today. You want to do it your way, that's fine. But you've got an option here. You can choose a blessing that the Deuteronomy teaches us through law, or you can choose a curse. And the only way you're going to get the blessings of God is to fear His name. And in our churches today, we have no true people that honestly fear God anymore. They're stiff-necked. Everybody's like, I'm going to get out of here so I can get to the grocery store. I'm going to get out of here so I can get to the restaurant. We've got to beat those Presbyterians in, or the Pentecostals in, or you name the group, the Baptists in, or you name the group. Everybody's got a joke about it. Well, I got an opinion for you. Why don't we pray for those brothers and sisters in these other religions? Instead of condemning them, why don't we just pray for them? There's a novel idea. We've been in Baptist churches all our life and heard some of the most horrendous things said from behind the pulpit, judging people that don't even know the people. Have a greater fear for God than even the speaker who said it many times. Turn to Romans chapter 11. Look at this with me. Folks, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew, a Gentile, black, red, white, yellow. If you're not grafted into the vine, you're headed to hell. But if you've been grafted into the vine, which is Christ, you cannot go to hell. Because He loves you. And you've surrendered your life to Him in a reverential fear that teaches you that I will never choose anyone to follow but Him. I really question those who make a profession of faith, and in 5 weeks later there's no difference in their life. There's no challenge inside for them. They may have walked an aisle and ball-hooed and cried and given their life over here at the altar. And boy, they get up in the church and they tell everybody, I got saved, and you never see them again. We had a lady join our church, what was it, about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I ain't never seen her since. Just gone. We've had folks leave. We don't even know why they left. It's kind of a blessing for some to go, but don't know why they left. But I can tell you one thing I know about all of them. There's no reverential fear for God in their life. It's all about them. What can it happen for me? In Romans chapter 11, it says this in 16, verse 16. For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold therefore the goodness and severity of God. On them which fell severity, but toward thee goodness. If thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. They also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive trees? For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, and blindness in part had happened to Israel, and the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So also Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. This is my covenant unto them, and I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake. For the gifts and callings of God are without repentance. For as ye in time past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief, even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they may also obtain mercy. For God concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. O death of the riches of both the wisdom and the knowledge of God! How unsearchable are his judgments, and his ways past finding out. In order to have a better oil, a better fruit, a better, more consistent yield, that attention to detail of how you love your God matters. He's not something you put on Sunday and dismiss for the rest of the week. It's a day in, day out willingness to subject yourself under the mighty fear of God. Folks, do you realize that we are literally one breath away from eternity? All of us. One breath. One breath. Some of us act that we have all the time in the world, but we don't. One breath. Brother Elder sent me a song this week. Brother Elder who visited, his wife died just earlier last week. Young 40s. They got one son, Seth, who's 15 years old. And he and his father are struggling right now, as you can imagine. They've taken a little time away from the pulpit for about a month just to get the bearings again, which I highly recommended to him. I said, you need to do that. Another minister sent him a song by a trio of men from the Carolinas. I don't even know their name. The title to the song is Don't Tell Me I'm Dying. These guys sing a song of a man in his deathbed. He's a Christian man. He's got his family gathered around his bed. And he tells all of his family, guys, I'm not dying. I'm just passing over. I'm headed home. Don't cry for me, I'm not dying. And he told me, Brother Elder did, that Kimberly said on that last couple days that she was able to talk to him, she told him, I don't feel like I'm dying. I wonder who was in the room with him. Don't you? I've often wondered if our angels and Jesus are over there in the corner of the room, I don't know, shooting dice. No, they're not shooting dice. They're not playing dominoes either. They're not playing cards either. They're just patiently waiting until that fulfillment of the last breath that was ordained before their life ever came into existence finished. At that millisecond that God has already preordained for our life, He's there waiting. And in those last few moments, Kimberly looks at her husband and said, Billy, I don't feel like I'm dying. He said, Brother Paul, I didn't know what to do with that until I got this song. Because now I'm shouting, knowing I'll see her really, really soon. I cannot tell you what I would do if I lost my precious wife. None of us could, unless you've been there. But I shudder to think where I would be without a strong woman kicking me in the backside every once in a while, spiritually. Leaning on me saying, baby, it'll be okay. Putting her arms around me because God sent her in a moment that no one else knew but her. And for these men that stand up and act like it's all about them in the pulpit, they're cowards. We need to give credit where it's due. And ladies, God made you a special entity that no other people on earth can handle. You are a precious jewel in the heart of every man. And for a man that doesn't recognize that, he's a fool. He's just a fool. But for all of us, male or female alike, if we don't recognize the fear of God and get reverential with our fear, we're the fool. Where are you at today? Are you happy that you fear the Lord enough? Or maybe have you tried to take over the reins a little bit too much in your life? Maybe you've tried to handle things your own way and things not really working out as they should. There's this constant friction that you're hitting a brick wall and you don't understand why. But you know that something's missing. Can't put your finger on it, but you know it's there. The Lord wants you to know something. He'll always take you back. When your heart gets broke, and you begin to see Him and who He really is again, He'll be sitting there with them arms open. How can I tell you how many times lately I've sat in that office weeping over some of our people because I'll see where they're headed. And unless they correct the course, they're heading into a brick wall. I close with this. Deuteronomy 24:20. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the bow again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, for the widow. Years ago, in the early farming areas of America, there was known as the carpetbaggers rule. You were not allowed to harvest your crops all the way up to the edge of your fence line. If you honored God and you loved and respected God and gave Him glory for your crops, you always left a section around the edge of your property, easy accessible for the vagrants, to at least have some food to live off of. I remember one time as a boy, me and Dad were out there picking some, I don't remember what the thing was, and someone jumped the fence. And in my mind, they were stealing fruit or vegetables. I said, Dad, your son, don't worry about it. That's the carpetbagger's rule. Our family still honors it, though very few do anymore. The Brantner family that used to grow crops up Raymond, Texas, would still honor that rule. You jump and steal a couple watermelons, and they would turn and look away as if it didn't happen because they were hungry. See, God does more than that. God goes to the gate and gives a whistle. Come this way. Don't jump the fence. See, I'm the door. Oh, gladly open to you. I know you're hungry. I know you're broken. I know you've got issues going on in your life that you can't handle, but I'm the door. And when you come through me, you don't have to climb over the fence ever again. Because I embrace you into my family. I welcome you in, whether you're wild or natural born of the Jewish race, I welcome you in. But if you don't come through me, the vine, you don't get free access to this pasture. There's coming a day where that barbed wire fence is going to be built with an eternal wall that you'll never be able to get in. Come in while there's still time, because the door is open for you. Are you willing to step my way? For that vagrant on the end of the fence line that looks at Jesus and says, no, I'd rather climb a fence. When they get on the other side of that fence, they'll drop off into the devil's hell, knowing that they would not surrender their lives to Jesus. What are you willing to do? Father, we love you. Thank you for how you love us when we are so unlovely. Father, I pray for all the pastors in our areas, you would encourage them in the work and the ministry. Lord, that you'd help them understand it's not time to quit, it's time to ramp up. Lord, send folks their way to encourage them. Lord, as they are encouraged, help them to encourage the flocks. Help them to be tender toward the sheep. But Father, you've taught us what tenderness means. But we've got so much more to learn. Often I feel like I've stolen a baby's bottle. I want to suck my thumb and get in a corner and disappear. But you called all of us to a light, to a battlefield. It's time to fight the devil with everything we have, while we reverently fear your name. Lord, teach us day by day how to walk in your favor, how to walk in your grace. God, thank you for sending a miracle, a life we don't take for granted. Lord, teach me as it grows to love you. And help us to walk hard. Lord, help you in every situation. It's in Jesus' name we pray.